A bag of cocaine slams onto the evidence table. Found in the defendant's car during a routine traffic stop. Open and shut case. Ilsa Lewis sits stone-faced at the defense table as the all-white jury stares at her with contempt. Officers Sean Murphy and Julian Torres exchange subtle smirks as the prosecutor arranges his papers with theatrical confidence. The judge adjusts his glasses. How does the defendant plead? Ilsa stands, her posture military straight. Not guilty, Your Honor. These officers planted that evidence. They targeted me specifically. Scoffs echo through the courtroom. The prosecutor rolls his eyes for the jury's benefit. Little do these officers know, they've just made the biggest mistake of their careers. 3 weeks earlier, Ilsa's luxury sedan cruises through an affluent, predominantly white neighborhood. She's returning from a covert operation abroad, exhausted but satisfied with the mission's success. Her secure phone lights up. "Lewis?" she answers. "Confirmation on your 2 weeks approved leave," her CIA handler says. "Director sends his compliments on Munich." "Tell him the package is secure," Ilsa responds, noticing a police cruiser ahead. "Thanks for checking in." She ends the call, switching fully into her cover identity. Blocks away, officers Sean Murphy and Julian Torres sit in their patrol car. Sean drums his fingers impatiently. Dead night. These rich neighborhoods, nothing happens. Julian, scrolling through his phone, shrugs. Easy money. Sean straightens suddenly, spotting Ilsa's car. "Well, hello. What do we have here?" Julian follows his gaze. "Nice car." "Too nice for someone like her in this neighborhood," Sean replies, his tone shifting. "Let's see what she's up to." Julian hesitates briefly, then nods. He's the calculated one, always weighing risks and rewards. "Your call." They pull out, tailing Ilsa's sedan. Ilsa notices immediately. The rearview mirror reflects flashing lights, and her trained mind calculates possibilities. She checks her speed, exactly at the limit. All signals used properly. No violations. She understands exactly what's happening, but maintains her civilian facade. The cruiser's lights flash. Ilsa signals and pulls over perfectly, coming to a complete stop. She places both hands on the steering wheel, visible. The officers approach, moving with practiced coordination. As Sean approaches Ilsa's window, he doesn't realize their entire interaction is being recorded by more than just his body camera. Sean approaches with deliberate slowness, hand resting on his holster. The beam of his flashlight sweeps across Ilsa's face, lingering longer than necessary. "License and registration," Sean demands without explanation for the stop. "May I ask why I'm being pulled over, officer?" Ilsa's voice remains perfectly modulated. "Failed to come to a complete stop back there," Sean lies effortlessly. "License and registration, now." Ilsa nods, keeping movements slow. "My registration is in the glove compartment and my license is in my purse. I'm going to reach for them now." "Just do it slowly," Sean says impatiently. Julian stands back, positioned to cover his partner. He notices Ilsa's composed demeanor and interprets it as suspicious rather than professional. Ilsa provides the documents. Sean studies her license, eyebrows rising at the Washington, D.C. address and government ID. "Government employee?" Sean's tone grows aggressive. "Long way from D.C. "I'm visiting family," Ilsa responds smoothly. "In this neighborhood?" Disbelief carries an unmistakable undertone. "My cousin works for a family here," she provides, the cover story practiced and plausible. Sean exchanges a glance with Julian. "Step out of the vehicle, please." "May I ask why? I don't believe I've violated any—" "Step out of the vehicle," Sean repeats, hand shifting to rest more prominently on his weapon. Ilsa recognizes the dangerous territory. "I'm complying, officer, but I want to state for the record that I don't consent to a search without probable cause." She steps out, maintaining perfect balance despite the tension. Her CIA training allows her to appear appropriately nervous while cataloging every procedural violation. "Stand over here," Julian directs, gesturing to the rear of the vehicle where Sean begins examining her car. As Sean disappears to the far side of her car, Julian blocks Ilsa's view, but not before she glimpses Sean reaching into his own pocket. "I found something," Sean announces with artificial surprise. He emerges holding a small plastic bag of white powder. "Look what we have here." Ilsa's eyes narrow. "That's not mine. You just planted that." Sean's expression hardens. "Excuse me? Are you accusing an officer of tampering with evidence?" "I am stating a fact," Ilsa responds steadily. "That wasn't in my car before you searched it." Julian steps forward. "Turn around and place your hands behind your back." "This is wrong," Ilsa states clearly for any recording. "I did not consent to this search, and that evidence was planted." "Shut up and turn around," Sean snaps. Ilsa complies, knowing resistance would escalate the situation. The cold metal of handcuffs bites into her wrists, deliberately tightened. Julian performs a pat-down that lingers inappropriately. Lights flip on in neighboring houses. Curious faces appear in windows. The officers make no attempt to shield Ilsa from public view, positioning her prominently under the streetlight where everyone can witness her humiliation. Sean calls for backup, his voice pitched to Carrie. "We've got an uncooperative subject with narcotics, requesting additional units." "I've been perfectly cooperative," Ilsa states clearly. The neighbors watching become unwitting witnesses. As Sean guides her toward the patrol car, he leans close. "Should have stayed in your own neighborhood." Julian adds with false professionalism, "Ma'am, possession with intent to distribute is a serious charge," then whispers, "You people always think you can get away with it." Through the window, Ilsa watches the officers continue searching her vehicle. When they believe no one is watching, they exchange a high five. At the station, the processing continues, the systematic degradation. The desk sergeant barely glances at her as she's photographed, fingerprinted, and relieved of her belongings. Each officer treats her with the same dismissive contempt. Throughout this ordeal, Ilsa's mind works with machine-like precision. She notes names, badge numbers, procedural violations, witnesses, every detail filed with perfect recall, her CIA training allowing her to appear distressed while maintaining complete situational awareness. The cell door closes behind her. She sits on the bench, head bowed, appearing defeated for the monitoring cameras. In the privacy of her holding cell, Ilsa's expression transforms from victim to predator as she whispers, "Operational assessment complete. Time to activate countermeasures." Morning brings the processed monotony of the justice system. Ilsa stands before a disinterested judge for her initial appearance, listening as bail is set. "One phone call," the officer announces afterward, leading her to a wall-mounted phone. Ilsa punches in a number. Not to family or a standard attorney, but a secure CIA contact line. She modulates her voice to sound upset yet controlled. "Hey, it's me," she begins, the ordinary greeting masking the activation of a protocol. "Yeah, I'm in trouble. Got arrested last night. They planted drugs in my car. 2 officers, Sean Murphy and Julian Torres." She embeds coded phrases that convey crucial information: her location, the nature of the compromise, and the specific response needed. To any observer, she sounds like a distressed woman calling a friend. To her handler, she's activating the agency's procedure for compromised agents. "Just need you to contact my cousin about that thing we discussed last month," she finishes, coding a request for specific resources. 4 hours later, Ilsa's bail is posted by a middle-aged woman identifying herself as Ilsa's aunt. The money comes through CIA channels, but the paperwork reflects a family connection. As she's being processed for release, Ilsa overhears Sean and Julian in a nearby room. "Did you see her face when you found that bag?" Sean laughs. "Priceless." "These people never learn," Julian responds, "coming into our neighborhoods like they belong." "That's 3 this month," Sean continues. "Torres and Murphy keeping the streets clean." "And our record's spotless," Julian adds. "Perfect conviction rate." At her apartment, Ilsa enters her bedroom and activates a hidden mechanism in her closet. A panel slides open, revealing a secure room. She steps inside. The room contains sophisticated surveillance equipment. Ilsa activates the system with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, personnel files, complaint histories, financial records, and social media accounts for Sean and Julian populate her screens. Her secure phone rings. Her handler. "This is unofficial," he begins. "The agency's position is that you should walk away. Drug charges can be quietly dismissed. Not worth compromising your position." "This isn't just about me," Ilsa counters firmly. "These officers have a pattern. They're abusing their authority systematically, targeting minorities with planted evidence." "Not our jurisdiction, not our problem," her handler responds, though his tone suggests personal disagreement. "It became our problem when they targeted a federal agent," Ilsa argues. "I need resources, minimal and deniable." A long pause. "What exactly are you planning?" "Justice," Ilsa replies simply. "By the book, through the system, but with all the evidence required." Another pause. "Limited support only. Nothing that could expose the agency." After ending the call, Ilsa contacts Minerva Chen, a brilliant technical analyst from her CIA team currently on leave. "I need your help," Ilsa explains, outlining the situation. "Those bastards," Minerva responds. "What do you need?" "Your technical expertise, off the books." Together they contact Irving Walker, a former prosecutor turned defense attorney known for taking on police misconduct cases. "Ms. Lewis," Irving greets her in his office. "This is unfortunately common, but proving planted evidence is extraordinarily difficult." "I have resources," Ilsa responds carefully. "And I'm willing to fight this all the way." Irving studies her. "Most people in your position take a plea deal." "I'm not most people," Ilsa replies, her gaze unwavering. "And this isn't just about my case." As Ilsa finalizes her strategy, her handler calls with alarming news. Officer Sean Murphy has connections to a case she worked 3 years ago. The preliminary hearing unfolds in a wood-paneled courtroom saturated with institutional indifference. Ilsa sits beside Irving, her posture perfect, revealing nothing of the strategic calculations behind her calm exterior. Prosecutor Thomas Grant approaches the evidence table with practiced confidence. He places the plastic bag of cocaine before the judge. "Your Honor, during a routine traffic stop, Officers Murphy and Torres discovered this controlled substance hidden beneath the driver's seat. The amount suggests intent to distribute." Grant presents the body camera footage, conveniently beginning after the traffic stop was initiated, showing only the discovery of evidence and Ilsa's arrest. Sean takes the stand first, his demeanor professional and earnest. He recounts the traffic stop with practiced ease. "The defendant was argumentative from the start," Sean testifies, the lie flowing smoothly. "Her nervous behavior suggested criminal activity." Irving makes notes but doesn't interrupt, allowing Sean to construct the fabrication that will later trap him. "And when you searched the vehicle, what did you find?" "A bag containing approximately 28 grams of cocaine hidden under the driver's seat," Sean replies seriously. "Based on my training, this quantity indicates intent to sell." Julian follows, his testimony aligning perfectly with his partner's account, adding supporting details while carefully avoiding potential inconsistencies. When cross-examination begins, Irving rises with deceptive casualness. "Officer Murphy, what time did you activate your body camera during this traffic stop?" Sean hesitates. "As soon as I approached the vehicle per department policy." "Interesting," Irving responds. "Yet the timestamp begins several minutes after the initial contact. Can you explain the discrepancy?" "Technical malfunction," Sean responds smoothly. "Happens sometimes." Irving nods as if accepting this explanation, then pivots. "How many complaints for racial profiling have been filed against you during your career?" "Objection," Grant interrupts. "Irrelevant and prejudicial." "Sustained," the judge agrees. Irving shifts strategy. Officer Murphy, please walk us through exactly when and how you obtained probable cause to search Ms. Lewis's vehicle. As Sean navigates this trickier terrain, Julian shifts in his seat, the first visible crack in his confident facade. In the gallery, Ilsa observes a man watching with unusual intensity. Using her training, she identifies him as Michael Reeves, an internal affairs investigator who has been monitoring Sean and Julian for months. Meanwhile, outside the courtroom, Minerva works from a secure location, hacking into traffic cameras and security systems near the arrest location, compiling footage that tells a very different story. The judge rules there is sufficient evidence to proceed to trial, but Irving's questioning has planted seeds of doubt. As the hearing concludes, Sean's phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. "We know what you did, not just to her, to all of them." The 2 weeks before trial transform Ilsa's secure room into a command center. Multiple screens display timelines, evidence logs, and surveillance footage. Minerva's fingers fly across her keyboard, digital doors opening before her expertise. "I found a pattern," Minerva announces. 7 cases in the past 2 years, all minorities, all in affluent neighborhoods, all with planted evidence during routine traffic stops. Ilsa reviews the data. "All prosecuted by Thomas Grant?" 6 of the 7, Minerva confirms, and all resulted in convictions or plea deals. Irving enters, carrying legal briefs. "I've filed motions to include evidence of pattern and practice, but Grant's fighting to exclude it as prejudicial." Judge Hamilton appears sympathetic to the prosecution's position. "We need more," Ilsa decides. That evening, Ilsa meets Michael Reeves in a nondescript diner far from both their territories. "Unofficially," Reeves begins, "I've been building a case against Murphy and Torres for months. They're careful. Internal complaints get buried, witnesses get intimidated, evidence disappears." "But you keep watching," Ilsa observes. 15 years in internal affairs teaches you patience," Reeves replies. "But I've never had a victim willing to fight back with resources." He slides a napkin across with handwritten notes. "Departmental procedures they violated during your arrest. I can't testify, but this gives you a roadmap." Across town, Sean paces his living room, agitated. His phone displays another anonymous message. "Your partner's financial records show unexplained deposits. Does your wife know about the offshore account?" Julian arrives, his composed demeanor fractured by concern. "We need to talk about these messages. Someone's watching us." "Internal affairs?" Sean speculates. "More sophisticated," Julian counters. "They know things IA wouldn't have access to." "We've been careful," Sean insists. "Maybe not careful enough." Julian studies his partner. This Lewis case, something feels wrong. She's too composed, too prepared. The next morning, Ilsa and Irving meet with Prosecutor Grant. His expression suggests he's extending a generous courtesy. "Possession with intent, reduced to simple possession," Grant offers. 12 months probation, no jail time. Given the evidence, this is more than fair. Irving looks to Ilsa, his expression neutral but eyes communicating this might be their best option. Ilsa meets Grant's gaze directly. "I won't plead guilty to something I didn't do, especially when they did this deliberately. This ends in the courtroom, with the truth exposed." Grant sighs. "Your attorney should advise you that officers' testimony carries significant weight with juries. This won't end well for you." "We'll see," Ilsa responds, rising to leave. As Minerva decodes the final surveillance footage showing the officers planting evidence, she discovers a third officer watching from a distance, recording everything. The courtroom buzzes with tension as the trial begins. Local media have picked up the story, a government employee accusing police officers of planting evidence. The gallery is packed with spectators, including several of Sean and Julian's previous victims. Judge Hamilton calls the court to order. The prosecutor and Irving both confirm they're ready to proceed. Thomas Grant approaches the jury for his opening statement, his confidence palpable. "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is straightforward. Two experienced officers conducted a lawful traffic stop and discovered illegal narcotics. The evidence is clear, the testimony is consistent, and the law is unambiguous. He gestures toward Ilsa. The defendant's accusation is not just unfounded, it's a desperate attempt to avoid responsibility. Irving's opening presents a stark contrast, measured, methodical. This case isn't about drugs, it's about abuse of power. Evidence will show that Officers Murphy and Torres have a documented history of targeting minorities, conducting illegal searches, and falsifying evidence. Ms. Lewis didn't commit a crime. She simply drove through the wrong neighborhood with the wrong skin color. The prosecution presents its case with theatrical emphasis. The bag of cocaine is displayed for the jury. The crime lab technician testifies about its purity. Street value approximately $2,800. Implying sophistication beyond casual use. Sean and Julian take the stand in succession, their testimonies perfectly aligned after preparation with the prosecutor. They describe Ilsa as confrontational and evasive. Several jury members nod along, their expressions reflecting implicit trust in law enforcement. In the command center, Minerva breaks through Julian's encrypted phone records. Text messages populate her screen. Dozens of exchanges between Sean and Julian discussing their collection of planted evidence cases. Torres, rich neighborhoods, equals better commendations, less risk. These people don't want trouble. Don Murphy. Plus, watching entitled minorities realize they're not untouchable. Priceless. Minerva compiles the most damning exchanges, transmitting them securely to Irving minutes before cross-examination. In the courtroom, Irving approaches Julian with deliberate casualness. Officer Torres, you testified that you've worked with Officer Murphy for 4 years, correct? Yes, that's correct. And you consider yourselves an effective team? One of the department's best, Julian confirms confidently. Irving nods thoughtfully. You've made numerous arrests together? Yes, sir. Our arrest record speaks for itself. Indeed it does. Irving agrees, then pivots sharply. Officer Torres, do you recall sending a text message to Officer Murphy on March 17th stating, North Oakwood has gotten too cautious. Let's try Westridge for easier busts? Julian's composure cracks. I don't recall. Perhaps this will refresh your memory, Irving continues, producing a transcript. People's Exhibit 47, Your Honor, obtained via subpoena to the telecommunications provider. The prosecutor leaps to his feet. Objection! Defense counsel has introduced evidence not provided in discovery. Your Honor, Irving counters, these records were obtained via subpoena last week. The prosecution received copies as required. I have the receipt acknowledgement here. The judge examines the document. Objection overruled. The witness will answer. Julian stares at the transcript, visibly calculating his limited options. As Julian stammers through unconvincing explanations, the courtroom doors open, and a woman in a formal suit walks in, handing Irving a sealed envelope marked classified. The envelope's arrival creates an immediate ripple through the courtroom. Judge Hamilton's gavel cracks against the sound block. Approach the bench, counselors. Irving, document in hand, joins the prosecutor before the judge. Their hushed conference grows increasingly intense, the prosecutor's face flushing while the judge's expression transforms from irritation to alarm. 20-minute recess, Judge Hamilton announces abruptly. The courtroom empties with reluctant compliance. Sean leans toward Julian, whispering urgently, but Julian keeps his gaze fixed forward, his strategic mind calculating escape routes that no longer exist. When court reconvenes, the atmosphere has transformed. 3 new individuals occupy the back row, government officials in dark suits. The prosecutor's earlier confidence has evaporated. Your Honor, Irving begins, the defense calls Dr. Eliza Richardson to the stand. A woman in her 50s approaches. After being sworn in, she states her credentials. I am the Director of Forensic Video Analysis at Quantico with Level 5 security clearance. Dr. Richardson, have you analyzed video footage related to the traffic stop and arrest of Ilsa Lewis? I have, she confirms. My team processed footage from multiple sources, including traffic cameras, security systems, and specialized recording devices. A screen descends. The enhanced footage begins playing, crystal clear despite being shot from a distance. It shows the complete traffic stop, including unmistakable images of Sean removing a small bag from his pocket before discovering it in Ilsa's car. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. The jury members exchange glances of disbelief. "Objection!" the prosecutor interjects desperately. "The defense has not established chain of custody for this evidence. Dr. Richardson, can you confirm the authenticity of this footage?" "I can," she states firmly. "We verified the digital signatures and timestamps. This footage has not been altered in any way." The judge overrules the objection. Irving turns toward Ilsa. "Your Honor, I would like to call Ilsa Lewis to the stand, not as the defendant, but as an expert witness in her capacity as a Central Intelligence Agency operations officer specializing in anti-corruption investigations." The courtroom erupts. Judge Hamilton's gavel cracks repeatedly until order is restored. Sean's face drains of color. Julian sits perfectly still, the calculated mind behind his eyes now focused solely on self-preservation. After another bench conference, Ilsa approaches the stand with measured confidence, the mask of the defendant replaced by the commanding presence of a federal agent. "Agent Lewis," Irving begins, "in what capacity are you employed?" "I am a senior operations officer with the Central Intelligence Agency, specializing in anti-corruption and institutional integrity investigations," Ilsa responds clearly. "I've served for 12 years in this capacity." "Was your presence in the neighborhood on April 17th related to your official duties?" "No," Ilsa responds. "I was on approved leave following an overseas operation. The traffic stop was unrelated to any official investigation." "Yet you've testified that Officers Murphy and Torres planted evidence in your vehicle. How can you be certain?" Ilsa leans slightly forward. "Standard CIA protocol requires field agents' vehicles to contain multiple hidden recording devices, a safety measure protecting both the agent and the agency. My vehicle has 6 such devices, capturing audio and video from all angles." New footage begins playing, this from inside the vehicle, showing Sean's hand clearly placing the evidence under the seat. "Beyond the video evidence, my training includes precise observational skills. I documented every procedural violation and noted Officer Murphy removing the narcotic package from his right pocket approximately 17 seconds before discovering it in my vehicle." Irving nods. "Agent Lewis, has your investigation uncovered any explanation for why you might have been specifically targeted?" "It has," Ilsa confirms, her gaze shifting briefly to Sean. "Officer Murphy's brother, Michael Murphy, was arrested 3 years ago in an operation I was tangentially involved with. While I never met Sean before, he discovered my identity through department databases. Evidence suggests he had been monitoring for an opportunity." This revelation transforms the case entirely, from simple racist framing to the deliberate targeting of a federal agent, a significantly more serious offense with national security implications. The courtroom absorbs this in stunned silence. Several jury members stare at Sean and Julian with undisguised contempt. "No further questions, Your Honor," Irving concludes. The prosecutor rises for cross-examination, his earlier confidence replaced by damage control. "Agent Lewis, if you were being unfairly targeted, why not simply identify yourself as a federal agent during the traffic stop?" "For 2 reasons," Ilsa explains calmly. "First, revealing CIA affiliation is only authorized in life-threatening situations. Second, doing so would have prevented documentation of a pattern of misconduct affecting ordinary citizens without such protection." The prosecutor attempts several more questions, each strengthening rather than weakening Ilsa's testimony. Finally, he surrenders with a resigned, "No further questions." As Ilsa returns to her seat, her gaze sweeps over Sean and Julian. For a brief moment, the professional mask slips to reveal the cold determination beneath. As Ilsa concludes her testimony, she looks directly at Sean and Julian. "And gentlemen, That's just what I'm authorized to reveal in open court. The Department of Justice announces a special task force to review all cases handled by Officers Murphy and Torres throughout their careers. U.S. Attorney Caroline Daniels stands before microphones, her expression grave. The evidence of misconduct is sufficiently concerning to warrant a comprehensive review, she states. Any individual who believes they were falsely charged based on these officers' testimony should contact our office immediately. Inside police headquarters, emergency meetings cascade through the chain of command. The police chief, Raymond Wilson, convenes his command staff. This department faces a crisis of confidence, he begins, the room tensely silent. 2 officers have potentially poisoned hundreds of cases and undermined decades of community outreach. I want immediate reviews of every case they touched. Deputy Chief Martinez raises the question everyone dreads. Sir, preliminary evidence suggests supervisory personnel may have been aware of the pattern. How deep does this investigation go? The chief's expression hardens. All the way to bedrock, nobody gets a pass. Internal Affairs investigator Michael Reeves presents his existing file to federal investigators. What was once a carefully guarded investigation now unfolds in public scrutiny. I've been tracking their activities for 19 months, Reeves explains. At least 23 individuals appear to have been falsely charged based on similar planted evidence. Outside police headquarters, community activists organize a demonstration that grows hourly. Their chants for accountability echo through downtown streets, their signs bearing names of those previously convicted. In the prosecutor's office, Thomas Grant faces his own reckoning. The district attorney, Eleanor Kim, closes his office door with quiet deliberation. Explain to me, she begins dangerously calmly, how you missed or ignored multiple red flags in these officers' cases. Grant's professional composure fractures. The complaints against them were always ruled unfounded. Their testimonies were consistent. Was too perfect, Kim interrupts. Too consistent. Too convenient. Basic scrutiny should have raised questions long before a CIA agent was forced to expose this in open court. What happens now? Grant asks. The Ethics Committee will review all your cases involving these officers, Kim states. In the meantime, you're on administrative leave. In Judge Hamilton's chambers, a review process begins that will consume the court's resources for months. His clerk presents the first stack of case files, previous convictions based primarily on Sean and Julian's testimony. Begin with those still incarcerated, the judge directs. There are 17, sir, the clerk confirms. The judge removes his glasses, suddenly looking older. How did we miss this? They testified in my courtroom dozens of times. The system trusted them, sir, the clerk offers quietly. A trust they weaponized, Hamilton responds. That ends today. Ilsa meets privately with the families of other victims. She sits with Maria Gutierrez, whose son has spent 14 months in prison after Sean and Julian claimed to find cocaine in his delivery van. They said no one would believe him over 2 officers, Maria explains, tears tracking down her face. The public defender told him to take the plea deal or risk 10 years. Ilsa takes the woman's hands in hers. The federal investigation will prioritize his case. I've made certain of it. How can we fight a system this powerful? Maria asks. By being more strategic, more persistent, and absolutely relentless, Ilsa responds. I'm connecting your family with Irving Walker. He's taking these cases pro bono, and he has all the evidence needed now. In a secure conference room at Langley, CIA Director James Montgomery reviews the situation with Ilsa's handler. The exposure risk? Montgomery asks. Minimal, Clark confirms. Agent Lewis maintained her cover appropriately until legal necessity dictated otherwise. Her decision to reveal her status was tactically sound. And the broader security implications of an agent being deliberately targeted? That's our primary concern, Clark acknowledges. We're conducting an internal review to determine if Sean Murphy's targeting of Lewis represents a larger security breach. As these institutional responses unfold, a more personal moment occurs in Irving Walker's office. He and Ilsa review the cascade of developments their case has triggered. 7 cases already scheduled for review. Irving notes with satisfaction. Judge Hamilton has personally prioritized those still incarcerated. And the officers? Ilsa asks. Sean faces multiple federal charges: civil rights violations, evidence tampering, perjury, and retaliating against a federal agent. Julian's attorney is already floating cooperation in exchange for leniency. Ilsa's secure phone vibrates with an encrypted message. She reviews it, momentarily surprised. Problem? Irving inquires. Quite the opposite, Ilsa responds. Additional evidence has emerged. It appears Sean and Julian's behavior wasn't just tolerated, it was part of an unofficial departmental strategy. Command staff directed them toward specific neighborhoods, creating plausible deniability while benefiting from the statistics their arrests generated. As the investigations widen, a file appears on Ilsa's secure server. Evidence suggesting Sean and Julian's behavior was actively encouraged by high-ranking officials. The preliminary hearing for Sean Murphy and Julian Torres unfolds in a federal courtroom significantly larger than where Ilsa's case began. Every seat is filled. Media representatives, community members, and previous victims whose presence creates a silent, powerful testimony of lives derailed. U.S. Attorney Caroline Daniels presents the government's case methodically. The evidence will show that these officers engaged in a deliberate pattern of civil rights violations spanning years, targeting minorities with fabricated evidence, resulting in false imprisonments that devastated families and communities. Sean sits rigid in his suit, jaw muscles visibly clenching. Julian appears more resigned, his calculated mind processing limited options. The evidence unfolds relentlessly. Video footage, text messages, financial records showing unexplained deposits, and testimonies from previous victims. With each presentation, the space between the former partners widens, their unified front crumbling. During a recess, Julian's attorney approaches the prosecution table. The subsequent conversation results in Julian being escorted to a private conference room. When court resumes, Julian's attorney addresses the judge. Your Honor, my client wishes to cooperate fully with the investigation. In exchange for consideration at sentencing, Officer Torres will provide comprehensive testimony regarding departmental practices and the full scope of misconduct. The spectators murmur as Sean's head snaps toward his former partner, disbelief and betrayal etched across his features. Julian's testimony begins with clinical detachment. His natural tendency toward calculation now focused on minimizing his own consequences. The targeting of minorities in affluent neighborhoods was not random. It was part of an unofficial departmental policy called Community Standard Enforcement. Please explain this policy, the prosecutor requests. Supervisors would never state it explicitly in writing, Julian explains, but the directive was clear. Maintain the character of certain neighborhoods by creating pretexts to stop individuals who didn't belong there. Those who fit the profile, primarily minorities driving through wealthy areas, became targets. And the planted evidence? Initially, we focused on actual violations, expired registrations, minor traffic infractions, but the department rewarded drug arrests more significantly: promotions, overtime, special assignments. The incentive structure was clear. Who authorized this approach? Captain James Reynolds created the unofficial program. Lieutenant Thomas Hayes implemented it. Sergeant William Foster supervised directly. Julian names names with dispassionate efficiency. Sean's composure finally shatters. He lunges to his feet, face contorted with rage. You lying piece of shit! You were all in! You kept the records! You planned the neighborhoods! Restrain the defendant, the judge orders, as federal marshals move to control Sean. Sean continues, his voice rising with each word. You don't belong in those neighborhoods! None of you do! We were keeping things the way they're supposed to be! His outburst devolves into explicit racial slurs and threats, shocking even his own attorney. The marshals remove Sean from the courtroom, his unfiltered hatred echoing down the corridor. When proceedings resume, Julian continues his testimony, revealing a departmental messaging group where officers shared success stories of fabricated arrests and discussed targeting strategies. We called it community gardening, weeding out the undesirables, Julian explains. his clinical tone making the racism even more chilling. Officers who expressed concerns were excluded from special assignments and promotions. 3 high-ranking officers are implicated directly. By day's end, federal agents are executing search warrants at the precinct, seizing records and electronic devices. The following morning, Sean appears for his bail hearing with a new attorney. His demeanor has transformed entirely, the professional mask discarded, revealing the raw prejudice beneath. The prosecutor addresses the court. Given his outburst yesterday and the serious nature of these charges, the government requests remand without bail. The judge studies Sean, who glares back defiantly. Bail is denied. The defendant has demonstrated he poses a danger to the community. As Sean is led away, Julian receives his own judgment, substantial but reduced in acknowledgement of his cooperation. Before exiting, Julian pauses, making eye contact with Ilsa, who sits observing from the gallery. "I'm sorry," he offers, the words inadequate against the magnitude of harm inflicted. Ilsa acknowledges him with a slight nod, recognizing that while remorse doesn't erase harm, it represents a necessary step toward justice. Not just for herself, but for every person whose life was derailed by this corruption. As the officers are led away in handcuffs, Ilsa receives a call from her CIA director. The case has exposed critical vulnerabilities in agent protection. 6 months transform abstract promises into concrete reforms. The police department buzzes with implementation teams as new protocols reshape institutional behavior. Chief Wilson addresses a mixed group of officers and civilian oversight representatives. Every interaction with the public is now recorded continuously, from initial observation through conclusion. No exceptions, no malfunctions. A veteran sergeant raises his hand. "Sir, what about privacy concerns?" "The privacy of civilians is protected through strict access controls," the chief responds. "But officer conduct is no longer a matter of trust alone. Verification becomes standard procedure." The newly established Civilian Oversight Board meets in a repurposed conference room, its authority backed by subpoena power and independent investigative capacity. 12 members, diverse in background and experience, review body camera footage with the methodical attention previously reserved for internal affairs. This case shows exactly why buffer periods between recording and release are problematic, notes chairperson Dr. Elaine Jackson, a retired judge. Officers Murphy and Torres exploited those procedural gaps repeatedly. Beyond technical changes, the department undergoes cultural reconstruction. Mandatory bias training now includes concrete scenarios based directly on the Murphy-Torres cases, with clear identification of warning signs and reporting procedures. Recognizing bias isn't enough, the diversity consultant explains. We're implementing a zero-tolerance policy with specific consequences. The reporting mechanism bypasses the chain of command when necessary, ensuring concerns reach appropriate oversight regardless of where in the hierarchy the problem exists. Several officers resign rather than adapt to the new standards. Their departures open positions for a more diverse recruitment class that better reflects the community's composition. Those who remain undergo extensive retraining and regular psychological evaluations. The emphasis shifts from arrest statistics to community engagement metrics, fundamentally altering performance evaluation standards. Downtown, City Council establishes a compensation fund for victims of false arrests and planted evidence. The streamlined process acknowledges that justice requires more than policy changes. It demands concrete redress for specific harms. "We've approved 19 claims to date," reports the administrator to council members. Compensation includes financial settlements, expungement assistance, educational opportunities, and counseling services. Within the CIA, Ilsa now heads a specialized task force developing new protocols for agent protection and community policing oversight. Her experience provides invaluable insights into vulnerabilities previously overlooked. The intersection between law enforcement and intelligence operations contains significant blind spots, she explains to her team. Our field agents' personal security depends on addressing these systematically. The resulting recommendations are implemented nationwide, creating new safeguards for agents operating domestically while establishing clearer boundaries between intelligence activities and routine law enforcement. Irving Walker emerges as a leading voice in police reform, leveraging Ilsa's case, with classified details redacted, as a compelling example of how justice system abuses can be effectively challenged. Minerva Chen, whose technical expertise proved decisive, now works with the Justice Department developing sophisticated systems for analyzing and authenticating police body cam footage. Her algorithms detect tampering and establish unbroken chains of custody, making evidence manipulation exponentially more difficult. These reforms ripple beyond a single department, influencing policing standards across multiple jurisdictions. The case becomes required reading in police academies and law schools alike, dissected for both its failures and the corrective mechanisms it spawned. At a national law enforcement conference, Ilsa is invited as an anonymous subject matter expert to speak about her experience, and finds herself face-to-face with the former police chief who enabled Sean and Julian's behavior. 1 year transforms justice from aspiration to tangible reality. Ilsa's office at CIA headquarters contains a single memento from the case, a framed court order dismissing all charges, displayed not as personal vindication but as a reminder of systems both broken and healing. Her promotion acknowledges her exceptional handling of an impossible situation, maintaining operational security while ensuring justice, protecting institutional interests while addressing fundamental wrongs. Her new responsibilities include overseeing agent safety protocols nationwide, transforming her personal ordeal into institutional protection. Occasionally, she reviews updates on the ongoing reforms in the police department where her case began. The changes have substance beyond procedural window dressing, arrests down 30%, while community satisfaction metrics show significant improvement. Sean Murphy serves his sentence in a federal facility, his conviction including multiple civil rights violations and retaliating against a federal agent. His rage has calcified into bitter resentment, his prison communications monitored for continued threats. Julian Torres occupies a minimum security facility, his cooperation earning him both a reduced sentence and potential early release. His calculated mind now focuses on survival and redemption in equal measure. He provides ongoing testimony against higher-ranking officers, dismantling the corrupt system he once navigated so effectively. The neighborhood where Ilsa was stopped has transformed. Residents who witnessed her humiliation have formed a community watch program focused not on reporting suspicious people, but on ensuring police accountability and safety for everyone. Irving Walker has established a nonprofit legal center specializing in cases of police misconduct, with particular attention to racial profiling. Operating from modest offices downtown, the center provides representation to those without Ilsa's resources or position. Many of Sean and Julian's victims have had their convictions overturned through the center's efforts. On a crisp autumn morning, Ilsa visits one such family, Marcus Johnson, who spent 26 months in prison after Sean and Julian planted drugs in his car. Released 4 months ago, he works to rebuild a life interrupted by systematic injustice. They sit in his mother's living room, the conversation flowing with unexpected ease. Ilsa doesn't reveal her CIA connection, presenting herself simply as someone who experienced similar injustice. The hardest part isn't just the time lost, Marcus explains, his hands wrapped around a coffee mug. It's the feeling that the system can decide your truth, regardless of reality. Ilsa nods. That violation of basic fairness lingers even after vindication. Exactly. Marcus studies her thoughtfully. How did you find the strength to fight back? Most people just take the plea. By recognizing it wasn't just about me, Ilsa answers carefully. Individual cases matter, but challenging the system itself creates protection for everyone. Later, walking back to her car, Ilsa's secure phone vibrates. Her handler's name appears on the screen. That community outreach wasn't in your job description, he notes without preamble. Some responsibilities transcend job descriptions, she responds. A pause stretches between them. Would you have handled things differently, knowing the professional risk you took? Your cover could have been permanently compromised. Ilsa considers the question with genuine reflection. Justice isn't just about individual cases. It's about changing systems that enable injustice. Sometimes that requires calculated risks. The director sends his regards, her handler adds after another pause. The new protocols you've developed are being implemented across all domestic operations. Your experience is protecting others. That's what matters, Ilsa concludes simply. As she drives away, the neighborhood looks different than it did that night 1 year ago. Not because the physical landscape has changed, but because the human ecosystem operating within it has begun the long process of genuine transformation. The case that began with a single corrupt traffic stop has catalyzed changes extending far beyond 2 officers or 1 department. The ripples continue to spread, altering institutional behaviors, legal precedents, and community expectations in ways both measurable and profound. True power isn't in the ability to harm others, but in the courage to stand against systemic injustice, even when you stand alone. If you've been moved by Ilsa's story of courage and justice, don't let this be the end of your journey. Hit that subscribe button right now to join the Beat Stories community, where we bring you powerful tales of justice, redemption, and triumph against all odds. Each week, we deliver stories that not only entertain, but also shine a light on critical social issues that affect us all. Give this video a thumbs up if you believe in standing up against injustice, and help us spread these important messages to those who need to hear them. Your likes and shares directly help us reach more people with these transformative stories.
This isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of what happens when truth meets visibility. At Beat Stories, we believe exposure is the first step to transformation. Subscribe and stay tuned, because the next story might be yours.